What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Hey, before we start the episode, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. You want to make a comment? Go for it. It's America. If you catch me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me with those 5 stars. I appreciate the support. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan. And folks, there's no introduction needed for this guest. He's been on the show numerous times, so I will call him just a returning champion. So without further ado, Andre Miller, the Alchemist 369. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Thank you, Cesar. Thank you. I'm well, man. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited about this episode with you. What I like is that every time that you come on board on the show, you always bring something new. And it's always good, I think, for me as a host, and also for the audience that follows both you and I, to see the progression, right? You talk about and you learn things at some point in your experience, whether it be a few weeks, a few months ago. And then when you come back to the show, you get to bring back something new about what you've learned so far, any changes, any updates. And that's what kind of makes it all exciting. So I'm glad that you were able to take the time to come back on the show. And I know you have something interesting and amazing and fantastical to share with us. So I'm ready to get into it whenever you are, buddy.
Yeah, man. So yeah, as you know, I've been, I'm an out of body traveler. I've been, those who may be watching this for the first time, and in doing so, I've been able to gain my own perceptional wisdom and insights in doing so, able to step beyond the veil and see things. Yeah. And in doing so, I actually have been able to, I've been trying to figure out how this place works. Right? As we all make these claims, as we live on a flat plane of existence, we're electromagnetic beings, well, all that's fine and dandy, but how does it work? Right? How do these things work? If we're on a flat plane of existence, what makes the sun go around? Right? What keeps the sun in orbit? What keeps the moon in orbit? What gives us the moon phases? Why is astrology so important still? What is gravity? So these are all questions that I've been asking for the last 2 years of my life, as soon as I got into this. And I believe I have a pretty solid understanding of how it works, through several experiences, insights, and downloads, and just meditation for hours, just trying to really figure this thing out. And I think I got a pretty good grasp of it. So, I put together a presentation actually that's on my website, and it goes over, first it goes over why the space narrative is false. How can we disprove Einstein's theory of gravity, right? Why is that false? Because that's what the whole space model is made up of. So I get into that. And then I get into, just really trying to get people to think for themselves. Like, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Don't listen to the narratives here, because it's all wrong. And then I kind of get into, what Nikola Tesla said in Bill Nye the Science Guy. I really wish people would understand that this is an enclosed system. And Tesla said, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration to understand the universe, right? And then I break down for people, exactly what do we mean when we say frequency, energy, and vibration, right? And then I tie all of that into the light spectrum and how light appears physical, how the light spectrum separated, because when we say we step out of our body and we access more of the light spectrum, what exactly does that look like? How does that break down? So I get into explain all of that to people so they have a solid foundation. And then I get into the mechanics of this particular realm in general, of how it works, the plasma core, the moon, the sun, And then I go on to explain how the realms are separated, and then eventually how with using this knowledge I'm able to navigate the other side. So
I love it,
yeah, it's
dude.
pretty
Hey,
pretty cool.
what a great like appetizer to what's coming. And if you don't mind, Alchemist, I would like to ask questions as you hit certain points. So I don't want to like fully interrupt you as you're in the flow and everything, but if I have a question about something, hopefully you won't it would be
Yeah.
okay to ask you and everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'll just present the mechanics of this realm because I feel like that's really important for people. And I'll leave out all of the other stuff about the construct and frequency and energy and everything. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what I have here is this is the mechanics of this realm. By this realm, what I mean is basically Earth, right? So what we have here, we have a flat plane of existence, and we have a black core or the black sun. You hear a lot of times in ancient civilizations and things, they refer to what we call a black sun. Well, that is actually the core of the earth, and it's not really like what they say. And then we have the sun and the moon. And what's spectacular is that all three of these are made out of plasma. The moon is not a physical place. We're not going there. The sun is made out of plasma, and so is the core. So that's very important because what plasma is it's the fourth state of matter, right? So imagine a gas substance where it has all these electrons and ions supercharged everywhere, right? But there's still a framework of where they have to operate in. Well, in plasma, that framework, that boundary is gone. So the electrons and ions are free to move. And a big characteristic of plasma is when plasma is static, it creates a toroidal field similar to a magnet. And that's where we get this toroidal field of the earth here. And then essentially what happens is with this toroidal field that's caused by the black core, because this is a much grander, a much bigger body of plasma, it creates a magnetic field. And another characteristic of plasma is when it's in a magnetic field, it creates an orbit. And there's tons of demonstrations for that. So that's the basis. So first, we have to understand that creation is no accident. This is no accident. There was no Big Bang. And then, somehow out of all the craziness of space, we ended up developing here on this planet and all of that. That is not true. It's no accident. Our bodies are intelligently designed, and so is this creation. There is structure, there is intention, and there is energy flow. There is containment within this realm that we're in. So the core, like I was talking about, now that's the hidden the hidden power source. It's a plasma generator beneath the plane. It's pure charge energy. It emits electromagnetic currents upwards through the center, and it creates the toroidal flow that powers and shapes the entire realm. It establishes directionally what we call up and down. Without this, there would be no up and down force because everything is electromagnetic. Our bodies are electromagnetic. This whole place is built off of frequency, energy, and vibration and magnetism, right? Now, this acts as the conductor of frequency for all matter above this plane. And when I was in this in between state, and the other side kept telling me, when I was trying to figure out how this works, I kept getting messages. It breathes, it breathes, it breathes. And I'm like, okay, oh, I get it. It breathes. So when I say it breathes, what I mean is this is constantly generating energy. Sometimes it generates more energy. Sometimes it generates less energy, but it is all on a cyclic time scale, right? So it breathes, and this is what is going to create the seasons. This is what's going to create the moon phases, and this is also um, why we feel different as well during this time. And then I have a video of a 33rd degree Mason describing this because this is what this place looks like, guys. It's very, very accurate as to what this place is. There's a flat plane of existence. Yeah.
So let me ask, just make sure that we're following. So when you said this breathes, this like contracts and expands. Is that what you're
Yes, it
saying?
contracts and expands. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
Thank
So everything, and that's, when you look at pretty much anything, even a light source, you can see it kind of like expanding and then going dimming out and expanding. Everything here in the universe expands and and contracts. So that's cool. And then this plasma ball under the realm is, so if we're talking about, for those that understand the construct and the different realms, are you saying there's one of these balls underneath each realm? Are there 12 of these plasma balls?
you. Yeah, essentially there is. I'm actually under the belief that you can think of it like that. However, I'm under the belief that there's just one, because actually this ball is actually how you can transcend. This is actually considered a stargate too. This is how you would transcend to the other realms as well. This is where the story of Hyperborea comes from the North Pole and things like that, because beings were using this to come into this realm. So I'm not entirely sure. I don't have exact clarity on if there's actually 12 separate ones or if there's just one, and when you can tap into the frequency of that one, it opens up other realms. I don't necessarily have all those details, but hopefully one day I can come back on and I will.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I appreciate it, man. Just asking questions that I'm thinking the audience will be thinking about as you're going. All right, continue, please. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good question. That's one of the questions I still have as well. So the breathing field, this realm operates on cyclical rhythms at every scale. Light, magnetism, and biological systems follow predictable patterns. So expansion and contraction is a universal cycle. This is what causes the day and night. This is what causes the seasons. The seasons are in growth phases, the tides, gravitational magnetic fluctuations, sleep and wakefulness, emotional and creative waves, right? This all has to do with the energy that this thing is emitting, right? So when this is why when people say, oh, it's a full moon and things are getting crazy, it's because the core is emitting this energy, right? And I'll get into that a little bit more. And then I have a video illustrating how plasma in a magnetic field, how it creates an orbit around the magnetic field, to verify that's what happens when you have two smaller plasma bodies orbiting a bigger plasma body. And it's all magnetism either too. It's not the sun bending space time like Einstein says or anything. No, this is literally plasma, and we can duplicate all of this in a laboratory. You know what I mean? Something that you can't do with the actual space model that we have now. That's why it's still a theory, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But understanding this rhythm lets us work with it and not against it. Because, later on in the presentation, I also get into how you can implement this into your daily life so you can live in harmony with your environment. So, gravity. Gravity is density and magnetism, right? Density determines the direction. Heavier things settle downward into the system, lighter things rise upward toward expansion. Everything finds its level compared to its density, right? So if less dense things are going to rise and more dense things are going to sit at the bottom, right? There's tons of experiments that showcase this. You can have water, oil, and another liquid substance in a cup, and you're going to see all of those settle at different times, right? I actually have a picture of that in the other section of this presentation. So what we call falling is objects seeking equilibrium. Higher density moves into lower energy reasons, just like oil rises above water or helium rises in air. Instead of a universal pulling force, we have structure and flow that creates the orientation. Down equals towards the field's return path, and up equals toward the outward flow. We experience this as a constant downward pressure because the system is always circulating inward, right? So that toroidal field that I was talking about is creating it. So it's forcing it inward. All the energy is inward. That's where we get the downward pressure from. So density gives it the structure and the field gives it the direction, right? So that's all gravity is. And this, again, can also be duplicated, Water always finds its level. If you have a helium balloon, it's going to rise in the air, right? You know, all of those things.
That's
Now,
pretty cool.
plasma
So
bodies riding,
because the
yeah,
so you were so that's pretty cool. So because the field keeps going in inward, that's what's creating our gravity. So anytime we throw something up, that energy field is always going inwards, and this is what's creating the gravity or the pull down effect, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly,
That's awesome.
exactly, yeah. Um, Now, plasma bodies ride in the current. Now, the sun and the moon follow natural cycles that are predictable and rhythmic, right? These patterns can be visualized like elements in an electromagnetic circuit. This whole thing is essentially a circuit. It's like one big circuit. In plasma physics labs, charged particles naturally form toroidal flows. Plasma rings lock into motion along magnetic field lines, right? This is all duplicated in science too. Now, nature shows self organizing electrical structures on cosmic scales. These dynamics offer a symbolic lens for energy flow in our lived experience. Rhythm and duality, light and dark, expansion and contraction, all part of one interconnected system. The sun equals the expression, the moon is the reflection. It's a cosmic dance of balance, right? So now as if this plasma core was to expand, what's that going to do? It's going to create a stronger field and it's going to pull the sun's orbit because these are all riding an electric circuit track, right? These are all orbiting around the electromagnetic field. However, when this is generating more energy, this pulls the sun in more towards the North Pole, where we would have summer in the northern hemisphere. When this contracts and has less energy, the sun would then navigate more outwards and we would have summer in the southern hemisphere, right? And it's similar concept for the moon phases as well. So essentially, that's what I just said. You know, as the field breathes, the sky moves. Inner and outer tracks create the seasons. Energy charge equals the moon phases. It's not caused by Earth's tilt or shadows. Now, the moon phases. The moon reflects the energetic charge of the realm. This is why there is a map of this place on the moon, right? Now, you have this plasma core generating all of this energy. It reflects on the moon, right? That's how you get the map on the moon. Now, as the system expands in energy, the moon appears fuller and brighter. As when there's a full moon, the core is emitting more energy. So that's the peak outward and emotional and psychic amplitude, right? Human behavior, our mood, our intuition, they all rise with this charge, right? When it's a full moon, because there's more energy in this realm, right? Now, when we have a new moon, that's the rest cycle. Now, it's important to have lower outward expression and deeper inward reflection, right? Because there's less energy here because we're electromagnetic beings, so we feed off of this energy, right? Now, the moon symbolizes the inner rhythm of consciousness. Its phases mirror our shifts between action and integration, expression and restoration, emotion and insight. By tracking the moon, we can surf the energetic tides instead of fighting them,
I got a
right?
question.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what's
So
up,
like
Caesar?
what's the maybe I've never really understood the difference between a full moon and a new moon. Do you know the difference between the
Yeah, so full moon is this here at the top picture, and then the new moon, there would actually be you would actually see no moon in the sky. So there's actually no reflection of this place at all. You know,
that's
because the
that's
core
the
is
reset
emitting.
you were talking about then. Goes back to zero. That's the
Yeah,
reset.
yeah.
So there's nothing there. I see.
Yep, there's nothing
Interesting.
here. Yep, and this happens once a month.
Once a month. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Um, yep, and then I won't necessarily get into the rest of this as this is astrology, how to implement and everything, but yeah, that's how this place works essentially, man. And it's great to know because when you know these things, you can then implement it into your daily life, right? And I go on to even talk about how, like I said before, I explained the light spectrum, how the realms are separated, how the construct works, and how I navigate these things once I'm out of my body. So once you have this knowledge, it helps in your everyday life, man. And you can start doing things to live in harmony with your environment, for sure. And by doing things that to live in harmony with your environment, I mean things such as when you hear people talk about they like to ground themselves. When you hear
Yeah.
people talk about they like to ground themselves to the earth, that is a real thing because this, as you just seen, this whole thing is an electric circuit. So when you're grounding your feet, you're getting energy, you're grounding yourself, you're living in conducive with your environment, right? When you're getting energy from the sun, if you're grounding yourself and at the same time you get energy from the sun, what are you doing? You're literally getting energy from the core, right? Now,
Interesting.
another way to think of this, people think we get the energy from the sun. We don't, right? Think of a light bulb. When you flip a light, this light bulb right here, right? Now, if
Yeah.
this light was on, is this the source of the energy?
It's
No,
not.
the light is not the source of the energy. The outlet would be the source of the energy. Well, the
Mm.
core would be the outlet. So the sun is not the source of the energy. It's that's the source. That's the outlet. But when you ground your feet, what are you doing? You're connected to the magnetic field that the core creates. And when you get energy from the sun, you're also getting energy from the core. Right. So it's all related. So doing those things help, man. And like I said, we're electromagnetic beings. So doing things like aligning your chakras, they definitely help while you're in the physical. If you're leaving your body, you don't really need that. But while you're in the physical, aligning your chakras, anything that you can do to conduce electricity will help your physical body. That's eating less, right? Because food can clog up your system. Detoxifying your body from heavy metals. I just did an interview with Masterpiece CEO. He has a product called Masterpiece that actually detoxes heavy metals from our bodies. So doing things like that because we're negatively charged. So when you have metals in your body that gives you a positive charge, it messes up your whole electric flow. Get those heavy metals out of your body, man. You know, just doing things like that to help you live in conducive. This also ties into why astrology is so important too, because everything works around the energy of this place. So while certain things are moving within the firmament, it all ties to the core, the energy. So almost everything that people say about astrology, grounding yourself, all of that is true, 100%. And that's why.
And I love that explanation. And I guess a question that I would think somebody would be wanting to ask is the outlet, the source of energy. How is that formed? Where does that come from? Is that just one of those divine things that we just accept that it's just there, or is there any kind of science that you
Yeah.
understand?
So there's no science that I necessarily understand for that yet. I didn't get that far yet. But, if you just think about it, if we're divine beings and we can just create with our thought forms, that's just how we thought to design it, right? Like when you're in
Yeah,
God form, you don't need to necessarily create something. Even me doing this now, explaining this in human terms for people, it's not really necessary because when
right.
you're in God form and you're creating, it's just there. You know
So
what I
it's
mean?
there.
So we're trying to
Yeah,
use human terms to describe these things, but if
yeah,
that's what it takes to get people to realize, then, but
yeah.
yeah, but it's essentially just plasma. It's the fourth state of matter, right? So when you just put a bunch of plasma in there, it comes, that's kind of like asking like, okay, what created the elements,
Right.
that's like a tough question,
Right.
you
No,
know?
no, no, absolutely. No, I just figure I know that you like we covered in the beginning, you don't have all these answers, but this is for folks that are listening and watching right now that really their foundation is that 3D mindset. So, some people that saw and listened to your presentation might take it as uh a science lesson. So they're trying to ask,
Yeah.
more into it and everything stuff. And not everything in that is fully science. And like you said, you are trying to put it into human terms to try to help out people
Mhm.
understand things. But so again, I appreciate you even just taking the stab at trying to put some of that into words. I have, let's
Yeah.
see. I'm interested about there was something that you had mentioned to me I think briefly offline, you said something in regards, I don't know if it was you or if it was your partner who went to like Antarctica or something like that and saw something
Yeah,
over there.
so yeah,
Can you talk a
so
little bit about
yeah,
that?
I can yeah, so, me and my partner, we both leave our bodies, and when we got together, we started accessing our soul records, and in accessing our soul records, it took us both to a place called Neo Soul. Now, if you can remember, the first time I was on your show, I was talking about this place, Neo Soul, right? Now, she had an out of body experience and she went back to Neo Soul as well. And in her experience, she actually was shown a map and she was like, they said, this is where you come from. They pointed to these 6 continents that we know: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. And they said, this is where you come from. And then he went way over here and he said, this is where we are. And she said, well, yeah, that's the ice wall. I know that. Like, oh yeah, duh. Like, yeah, I know about the ice wall, and yeah, we're over there. Yeah. So he pointed to the map, and then he went on to tell her about how the civilization started there. And he said, humans actually migrated out there. So, the civilization of Neo Soul is populated with humans that come from here. However, if we were to discover them, they would be considered extraterrestrials to us, right? Because they don't come from these lands. However, I can tell you, because I was there, they are just like us, man. And, yeah. And so they started the civilization there as after the ice wall was put up. Some humans escaped and started a civilization there, man. And Neo Soul is one of the most advanced places I've seen humans in, for sure. Like, so you're familiar with the resets, right? Like the Great Flood, how this place has been reset. Well, imagine if humanity was never reset for the next 3 to 500 years, right? Imagine
Yeah.
how advanced we would be from now. That's like what Neo Soul is like,
Okay.
you
So wait,
know?
you're saying, let me make sure I understand this part. There's two things there's two comments that you made. One, you mentioned about the ice wall was put up. Are we like, what's your understanding of that? Was there, from what you understand, was there a flash freeze, tilting of of the planet, or whatever the case is, or was the wall literally put up to separate these two areas of the plane? What's your understanding?
Nah, man. So it's not a natural occurrence for sure. Same with deserts. Deserts aren't natural, man. I don't know I don't have necessarily have all the details on what happened yet, but I do know 100% that it was put up for sure.
It was
I
put
do
up.
know that
Okay.
100%. Yeah, like it was intentional to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Dang, that's wild. Just to think about that, like, like you said, it was intentional. So with every intention, there's a reason. So it'd be interesting to know what the reason was, right? And then I'm
Yeah.
also wondering, and this isn't really a question that you would know the answer to unless you have a thoughts on it, but I'm wondering also, when these resets happen on our side, did they even affect lands on the other side of the ice wall? What do you
No,
think?
no, for sure. No, the resets only take place here within these 6
Really?
continents. Yeah, nothing else
Why do
is
you think
reset.
just here
It,
though?
it just happens. Essentially, it's an experiment, and from the human perspective, it seems evil and stuff like that. But from a greater perspective, it worked. However, I will say that the creators of this place do not like it. Nobody does. Once you're outside of an incarnation and you're back in soul form, nobody likes what's happening here. That's why we come back. That's why I'm here. That's
Okay.
why, all of us come back to try to stop it. Right. But when you're in the human form, or if you're in another incarnation, like let's say you're an ET for an example, and you have control and greed within you because you're in a physical vessel, those are the reasons that create this place, right? When, but when when you step out of here, man, and you go back home to the other side and you see everything and all is revealed to you again, and you see what's going on here, it makes you angry. And then that's why people come here for an incarnation to try and help, to try and wake this up, to try and fight the system, essentially. Yeah.
what do you think from your understanding, what is the system? Right? Like we know we these souls we leave and we come back to try to help, like you said, fight the system. But what is for folks that are, and again, I'm trying to embody the people that are listening and watching. They're trying to ask these questions. What's the system? What do you mean by that from your understanding?
So, by the system, from my understanding, I mean the monetary system, the government system, the control structure here, the everything, man, the religion, the food we eat, the literally the entire system. And when I say the system, I mean everything here. The people in control do not need to be in control here, and that goes for every line, every fashion of it. I don't care at what level. None of that needs to be taking place at all.
Yeah. No, that's wild, man. It's wild just to know that there are these entities, these other souls that just decided to, I guess, take the opportunity, take advantage of the other souls that are here in forgetfulness and do what they do, control
Yeah.
and keep on controlling.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah,
What do you think
yeah,
from
for
your
sure.
understanding? What do you think happens to these entities that are in control right now or trying to stay in control? What do you think is going to happen to them when they return home fully? I mean, is there something karmic
Well,
debt? Are
they'll
they going
have
to have to pay
deep
for it?
Yeah, they'll be in deep pain and regret. There's no karmic debt, however, they will feel it. Once you return home to unconditional love and you're stripped free of everything that you need here, that's one of the hardest things. That's gonna be the hardest life review they ever have, because now the thing about life reviews is when you step out of your physical body and you no longer have to worry about pain, you no longer have to worry about suffering, you no longer have to worry about money, you no longer have to worry about any of the things that humans think are important, right? We all think all of these things are important. And that is what fuels a lot of our decisions, right? This scarcity mindset, this survival mode. That's what fuels a lot of our actions. But when you're stripped out of that shell and you no longer need for anything and you're just your pure soul, your pure consciousness, and you see yourself acting because of the illusion of scarcity, because you felt you needed to do something for monetary gain, or because you felt you needed to do something for any of those reasons here that we live by. Once you're free of this and that no longer applies to you, that pain hurts so bad. And that hurts bad for an average individual who just might be like, oh, no, I didn't give that man $1 because I only got five, right? But you didn't know that man really needed a double cheeseburger from McDonald's or something, Now that would hurt you. Or so imagine if you're doing that to millions of people, billions of people consciously. You consciously know that this is a game. You consciously know what you're doing and you're doing it anyways. That pain is going to be great.
And that's the part from a human understanding. That's the part that's kind of like, it's mind blowing because, like you just said, you consciously are aware that you're doing this. And you know that you're going to have to feel this horrible pain after it's all done. Why would you make that choice? You know? It's just
Yeah, man.
I don't understand that, you know?
The illusion of control runs deep. Now, I will say some people come here to play that character this is the realm of duality. Some people come here on purpose to play that character. However, some of it is not that. You know what I mean? It's just the illusion of control, man. Like if that's the same way like when people learn all these skills and oh, you can leave your body and stuff like that. Now somebody comes and says, "Oh, I'll give you $1 million if you do it for me," or something like some shit like that. That's like, would you do that for $1 million even knowing all the things you do? Like some people would. So that's it's really that simple. So what would you do for the illusion of control, for the illusion of power here? And how do we get that illusion of control and power? Through monetary gain. It's all
Yeah.
has to do with money because money gives us the illusion of control and power here for sure.
You made a great point about the illusion of control. Being omnipotent beings, we can't control one another. To make a choice intentionally to want to have the illusion, the experience of controlling others. I mean, I guess without putting a label on it, because now I just kind of stopped myself here. I was gonna put a label on it and just say like that's horrible. But at the end of the day, you and I know that these are just labels. It's an experience. It's just an experience. We look at
Yeah.
it with the moral human mindset of that's bad based off of our belief system and our understanding and everything that we think that we know this is good and this is bad. But if there is no good or bad, if it's just the experience, then I guess they're doing what they wanted to do, and in some level, it's okay, I guess,
Yeah.
from that
And
side of it.
so it is all just an experience, man. At the end of the day, it's just a game. I call it the game of life, Caesar, because I can promise you, man, when we're sitting on the other side and we're souls, say we're outside of this entire universe. Caesar, this is how you can think about life on Earth, right? This is how everybody here can think about life on Earth. Say me and you, say we're outside of this universe, this construct, whatever name you guys want to call this place that we're in. I can tell you it's not a universe, though. It's definitely a construct or creation. But say we're outside of here and we're just hanging out, man. We're just having a good old time. You're showing me something that you built, and I'm just hanging out, right? And I'm like, yo, Caesar, I heard that they got this new construct we can go into, but you got to forget everything, man. It's this place called Earth. I heard it's crazy. You got to forget everything that you know to be true, and you just got to start over, man. And you have all these limitations. Like you die, and you be asking me like death. Well, like what's that? And I'd be like, it's this crazy concept on Earth, man. You got to check it out. You want to do it? You'd be like, yeah, why not? And then we get here, and it's a ride, man.
I like that. I like that part that you just said when you just breathed out like, man. That's
Yeah,
actually
man.
that, and more than the words that you said, that sound has so much like intention and emotion behind it that we all understand it. It's like, man, what a great example that you just gave. We're out there, and we hear about this experience that we've probably, some folks, some souls have never had. We make the choice and say, okay, I know this is going to be a tough one, and there's probably going to be times while I'm having this experience that I want to get out, you know? But
Yeah.
then you have your, what we call here in the human experience, our guardian angels, and whatever, things, beings out there that are out there to remind us you're not done yet. You're, like, keep going, keep going, keep going. They're helping us fulfill this experience in its entirety, however long that may be and stuff. So what a cool way to just see that and understand that it's an experience.
Yeah,
I love it.
because the same way I said, "Hey, we're outside." That's the example if we both decided to come in here. Now, this is how you can think of spirit guides, guys. Now, imagine me and Caesar, we're talking like, "Oh, there's this new experience called Earth, but I got to forget everything, man. I'm a little scared." Yo, Caesar, why don't you stay here while I go in, and then if I need help, you can help me. Caesar
Yeah.
be like, "All right, man. Yeah, that's your spirit guide." That's all it is. It's not some magnificent being or something. It's just your friend from the other side that stayed out while you were in to assist you in the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Love it,
it's
man.
really
Love
just
it.
like that. Yeah.
I love it, man. It's like let's use another game example. We're playing an online game. I'm going in, and in this online game, I'm playing the character, but you're watching me play the game, but you're assisting me, like saying, "Hey, here's power ups here, and here's coins over there, and like if I'm like playing the game, I need you to go find some cheat codes and everything, and you're doing all the administrative oversight for me because you're helping me complete this game, you know."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So any way we look at it and stuff, I love all of it. And it makes it, when you think about it in that manner, it makes it a little bit more digestible. That's awesome, dude. I love the game analogy. Andre, I remember a while back you had, this was like months back when you were still learning things as you've been doing all this time, and you had this whole example of like, I think you used the whole like football analogy. Let me ask you this: from that time frame when you had that understanding at that moment to now, has that analogy changed for you?
No, not at all, not at all. Yeah, that same analogy still is still
All right.
applicable for
Yeah.
everything that I know. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like when you leave your body, when you cross this electromagnetic threshold that keeps the frequency out, that keeps information out of this realm, when you leave the firmament and you reach a higher realm, your memories come back. You start to remember creation. You start to remember how this place works. Like I'll say this. I never said this publicly, but one time when I came back from an out of body experience, I felt like I had so much knowledge of how this place was built. I felt like I was one of the ones that made it. Now that's how much information can come in, right? From an
Yeah.
out of body experience. So when you have these experiences, man, you just understand so much. And where that analogy came from was I was like, damn, I know all this. How can I explain it to my friends? And at the time, I was like, I had some hood friends, man. I'm like, how can these guys, know? I'm like, I know they like Madden. I know they like football. I know they play video games. So let me try to break it down that way for them. That's where that came from. Yeah.
It was beautiful. Now I'm gonna just ask, and you probably don't have it, but just ask you anyways. Do you have that set up where you have the whiteboard where you can just do something like that right now, or no?
I don't, man. I don't. I wish
Okay.
I did. I wish I did. As you know,
All
I'm
right.
traveling. That would have been
Yeah.
great. I would have loved to explain the mechanics on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
thing. That's the best way to explain to people. Yeah,
It's
for
all
sure.
good.
Yeah, I
There's
wish
always
I
an
did, but
either way. If folks want to see that, then go to your page and everything, which will have the link obviously on the description already. If people don't already know where to find you, but it's definitely a pretty interesting and fun, entertaining watch as
yeah,
well. Get you thinking and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, and that video where I'm explaining on the whiteboard, that just details realm one. I actually wrote an entire game of life thesis that details every realm, like this whole universe and construct, and compares it to video games too. That's on. I got that on my site. If that's a good read too. I think these analogies really helps put these things into perspective for people, because when you think of creation in the universe, it's so massive and you think of it as just this big grandiose thing. But then when you can relay it to somebody in a format that people can relate to, it kind of helps break down the grandiose of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Andre, you've been hearing a lot. We've all been hearing a lot in the esoteric community about something big's coming, big change, and where everything will be revealed to us. What are your thoughts on that mindset and that statement?
Caesar, I honestly believe, that statement and that mindset is spot on. All these people are connected to the other side. You have intuitives, psychics, mediums, whatever you want to call them, people that are in tune. You have out of body travelers, near death experience. Everybody is channelers. Everybody is saying the same thing, right? Now you have to ask yourself, if everybody's saying the same thing, do you think we're lying? The chances are very not likely, right? So, without even getting into too many details, I will just say, yes, that's certainly where we're headed, man. Certainly, you know, I just, I just went to beyond the ice wall and I'm saying, yo, there's humans over there.
Yeah,
You know, you guys can leave
yeah.
your body and see them. Like they're hiding this stuff. So, with more stuff like that coming out, for sure, for sure.
That's. I mean, I know that thought alone about there being humans on the other side of the ice wall is a topic that's going to get people just really just wanting to ask more. So, and I know you can't answer all these questions. I know also that experience was mostly your partners regarding that particular story.
Yeah.
And also, hey, if you can throw in a good word, we'd love to have her on the show. We'd love to have the both of you on the show together, or just her, whatever it is. So hopefully you can make something like that happen.
Yeah, I think she'd be open to coming on. For sure. I could come on with her too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be all.
Get into yeah.
Yeah. You guys had the opportunity? So you guys have traveled together, or so far it's just been independently?
So we haven't traveled out of our bodies together yet. It's been independently. We have tried a couple times together with no success, but certainly, and we're isolated right now, but certainly when we get back to practicing, we certainly will for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
That's one of our intentions is to travel and meet up and to come back and tell people how we did it, so other people can meet up out of their bodies, find techniques, things to help with meeting up, so other people can meet up. Cause I know that's a big thing. A lot of people will feel like they want to leave their body, but they're scared. And if they knew they could do it and meet up with somebody that they know from this life, I feel like, that would help a lot
Yeah.
of people. So we're definitely going to
Yeah.
try that. Yeah.
What a great idea. I think that's what I would call the sauce. That's the piece there. A lot of people, it's already scary for folks to step into the unknown on their own. Even though, in the grand scheme of things, we understand that you're never alone. But just for the context of this explanation, a lot of folks feel like they're alone when they step into the other side, or in this case, when they leave their body. But to have the mindset or the knowing that there's something that they are familiar with in the unknown, I think that's attractive to people, because it's like, I'm going to this big, people are imagining this big world, like they're thinking this whole different situation, but which they're not familiar with. But there's going to be my friend or my loved one or my partner or family member, whatever the case is going to be there, and we'll be able to explore this unknown together. I think that if one day you and your partner are able to come back online and just explain to folks, give them some kind of hope that, hey, this is how to do it, or at least these are some of our steps that we took to get to that point. I think that's going to encourage a lot more people to step into the outer body experience.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think for sure. Because people ask me all the time, "Hey, can you come get me and meet me out?" I necessarily won't, but if they could find somebody else that can leave their body and that would love to meet up with them, I really think that that would help them, be able to achieve this, yeah, and overcome that fear. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Andre, as we wrap things up, I definitely look forward to having you back on. So again, thank you for your time. And I want to ask you, is there something that you'd like to leave with the audience before we roll out?
Yeah. I just want to tell you guys, a lot of times in this life, we feel alone, we feel lost, we feel as if we don't have all the answers, and a lot of people are seeking something, right? Seeking something outside of themselves, whether it's validation, whether it's money, or seeking an out of body experience to get out of here, or whatever it is. I just want to tell you guys, don't seek anything. All the answers are within you. You are made of love. You come from love, and you will return back to love. This is just a temporary experience, and everything will be all right.
Love it, man. And folks, if this episode got you thinking, share it. Comment below what part resonated with you the most. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next frequency shift that we explore with either myself or any other guest. I always want to remind you that I love you, I see you, I hear you, I am you. Continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain and take a deeper look. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequency.